Hey there. Oh my goodness. So, when you meet someone or you text someone or you get that random DM and you're like, I think we could be friends. That is exactly how Meredith and I felt about Elaine last year. She sent us a DM. We talked about our existing consulting business, and we knew we had to invite her to the first ever Global Grant Writers Collective retreat. This event was only open to collective members, but we just knew Elaine had to come. And so we invited her and said, hey, we're not doing this for anyone else, but if you would like to come to our retreat, we would love to have you there. And she was magic. She has since now joined the collective and has had an incredible year. She's been with us for about 8 months. Before launching her grant writing consulting firm and joining the collective, she was an executive assistant at a local hospital right in the middle of COVID. But she had previously worked for a municipality where grant writing was a large part of her work. She joined because her work lacked meaning. She was feeling uninspired, and she knew that there was something more fulfilling that she should be doing with her life. Since joining the collective, she has been able to triple the revenue. Yes, triple the revenue generated by her firm, hire 3 incredible women to work alongside her as a highly functional, fun-filled team, and expand the number of clients and great causes served. This conversation is so cool because I know we talk a lot about what does it look like when you come in with no experience. But Elaine had a lot of grant writing experience and had a consulting business for 2 years before she joined us. And so what I love about this conversation is we got to dive straight into entrepreneurship and talk about grant writing consulting business from a different angle. I know that you will love this conversation too. Let's do it. Hi, Elaine. I am so excited to talk to you. I wish that we could be doing this in person. We are only an hour and a half apart. And I very much wanted to just drive over the mountain this morning and be like, no, we can do this in person. But I know that one day we will get to hug in person again and it'll be glorious.
Absolutely. I can't wait. Thank you so much for having me, Alex. I'm excited.
Of course. Yay. Okay, so let's dive in. I want to dive straight in because you are so unique in the fact that you already had an established grant writing business when you came to us. So you had been 2 years into building your own consultancy. And so I want to kind of rewind these past 8 months. And will you talk to me about what was it? Who was the Elaine 8 months ago, right? What were your business challenges? What did your business look like? How many hours were you working? That kind of stuff.
Absolutely. Yes, because I started my grant consultancy in, I think it was July 2020, because I was just feeling so unfulfilled in my daily life. I was working as an admin, like an executive assistant at our local hospital. Just, it was fine. It paid the bills. It
Casually
was
in the
fine.
middle of COVID.
Totally. Totally. Oh yeah, exactly. And I kept coming home from work every day and my husband was just like, you hate your job. Like, what are you doing? Like, you have so many talents and things you could be exploring. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, well, why don't you start grant writing again? And I'm like start a business? Like, people don't just do that. And he's like, they do it all the time. Okay, he's the visionary. I'm like the granular, like, well, how exactly does that happen? So he was really that push. And so I had been doing my own consulting for a couple years when I started seeing you guys on Instagram and learning about the collective and knowing that a retreat was coming up. And it was great to be able to have, my own schedule, my own calendar. I've got 3 little kids, like something's always happening. So it was really amazing to be able to kind of be the master of that, but it was lonely. It was really lonely. Like, I shared an office with my husband who doesn't do grant writing whatsoever, and trying to talk to him about like, oh, this thing happened and I'm so bummed, or oh, this amazing thing happened. And he's like, that's great. I don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, oh. So I just felt this need to have a community of some sort, whether it was in person or virtual. I didn't really care. I just knew that I couldn't keep going the same way as a one-woman show. And there's really no glory in being the do all the things. I mean, it burns you out like beyond belief. So I saw that, and about the same time, I started seeing more with you guys and just the resources you were providing in this collective, and it just sounded so amazing and intriguing. And I just knew at that point I can't scale any more than myself because I'm one human. I need to find a team. I need to find a community, and that's what led me to y'all.
Okay, so now I'm going to go on a totally different tangent because I want to capture what you said. It's not glory to do it all yourself, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to kind of zoom out for a second. Not only are you running your own consulting practice with 4 team members, which we will get to later, and probably more. You'll tell us, you'll correct us on the true number of people operating behind the scenes. But you run an Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
Tots, what is it? It's Tots.
Tasting
Oh, I'm
with
going to forget the
Tots.
name. Yeah, Tasting with Tots. And you are a business owner with your husband
Mhm.
of a boxing gym where
Yes.
you teach sometimes at 5 in the morning.
Yes.
So, and you run a household with 3 children and your husband and 2 dogs. So
Yes.
you are doing so much.
Mm-hmm.
My question on this is like you've just acknowledged that you can't do it all.
Mm-hmm.
What have you done to either buy back your time or how do you prioritize and really manage your time so that you can really put in the hours to build your dream?
It's something, and I will fully admit that I'm still very much a work in progress. But this is since
Mhm.
having team members, that really has helped me figure out, well, what is my zone of genius, and what are the things that I should be focused on in the business that are really are the things that only Elaine can do. Like I going as a solo entrepreneur into having a team, you always think, well, no one can do it quite like me. No, they really can, and they might be able to do it better than me in most cases. So it's been really figuring out what are those things that A, I love to do, and B, have a really great return on investment in the business, and I want to keep those things because that's what I like to do. And then understanding what I can kind of send off to the rest of my teammates and where their zone of genius is, where the gaps are. It's been really interesting. So it's hard because as I have brought on more team members, our client load continues to increase as well. So it's like I still haven't found that perfect, like, okay, I'm working 30 hours a week and I'm only working 30 hours a week. Like I'm still working far more than that. But
Mhm.
it's like I would love to get to a point where I could take a Friday off. I cannot check my email over the
Yeah.
weekend. So it's
Mhm.
progressing. Even slow progress is progress in my opinion. So it's so much more, I feel so much more supported than I did prior to joining the collective, prior to having a team. So like I'm on my way, but I'm still like, oh,
Yeah.
I need to just also realize that I need to let control go in some ways and trust in others. And it's becoming easier, but it's like my team has to remind me like, you hired us for a reason. And I'm like, you're right. I did. I did. Thank you for the reminder.
Yeah. So, yeah, absolutely. So, have you cultivated a space where they can obviously push back on that? Like, I think one of the most important things in this journey is that now you know the questions to ask. So, even if you are checking your email on the weekend, you're now cognizant of the fact that you're checking email on the weekend and you can ask yourself, like, oh, one, do I have to be doing this? Should I be doing this? And how do I not do this? And then you can go
Exactly.
into your next week kind of building systems around that. But going back to your team, how has hiring been? Has there been any challenges in that? And then how are you creating this environment where they can come to you and say, like, no, Elaine, I got this?
Mm-hmm. No, it's been a really fun evolution. Because I joined the collective in October. I made my first hire in December. Really
Okay.
based on talking to folks within the collective that already had hired or were a little bit further down the path than I was, and then just hearing from you and Meredith, like you are going to get to a point where you can't grow anymore. Like you're gonna break your
Mhm.
back doing all of this work, and then you're gonna burn out, and then what's the point? Like, right. I
Yeah.
was already kind of feeling that, like, how do I do this? And yeah, so hiring was amazing. It was just very serendipitous because it was right around Thanksgiving, and I was like, I I see all these deadlines. I see all these things. I can't possibly get this done and still be able to like not work on Christmas. Like it was just too much. And I had a friend of mine who I've known literally my entire life reach out because she was kind of making a career transition. She's an artist herself, but I had worked with her on some of her own grants in her
Nice.
performing life. And she's like, you've read my writing. Like, what do you think? Is grant writing something I could potentially pursue? Can you coach me? And I'm like, well, if you're willing and you need work, like I've got work,
Work.
so like, let's just do this. And so that happened in December. I had another colleague that I used to work with at a previous job that got furloughed that next month, and I had always she and I worked so well together, and so saw that happened to her, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, that's
Mhm.
horrible. Come with me,
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
let's do this.
exactly.
And so that
This
was
was meant
another
to be.
yes, it was. So that happened, and then most recently, just a couple weeks ago, I realized I've been reading Dan Martell's book that Meredith sent to us about buying back your time, and I was in exactly the space that he was mentioning of when you start to offload work to others, the founder gets left with kind of all the admin stuff and the things that
Mhm.
kind of just all the tasks. So I found that I'm like, I'm not even writing grants right now. I'm in my
Yeah.
inbox, I'm in my calendar. I'm just this is not
No,
making any money for the business. This is not what I'm good at all. So
it
I
probably
reached out to
doesn't
it.
spark joy.
It did not. It did not. Just getting stuck in the minutia of all of it. And so I reached out to another friend that I had worked with previously who's like, that is her thing. She's amazing.
Mhm.
She loves it. It lights her up. And I'm like, do you have any, extra time? I know you're working a full-time job, but you have any time? And she's like, yeah, if that means we get to work together again. And I'm like, here it is. So she's been
Nice.
doing that and kind of building my systems and getting us all
Mhm.
organized. And it's just been crazy, and it's just all kind of happened, and we've all come from very past traumatic work experiences and
Mhm.
not amazing bosses and not that did not respect boundaries. And so I'm just really looking to create something that we are here to do great work and we can have fun together, and just it's been amazing that they love to come to work every day, and I'm like, I love to work with you guys. So it's been really fun.
It's such an amazing joy, one that I was not expecting in the entrepreneurial journey, right? I thought I would always be in it for only the collective members, right? I would only be
Mhm.
fired up by those specific people. And in fact, my team lights me up so much. It's been this just incredible magic discovery of like, we really can create the workforce and the workplaces that we wanted to work at. We just
Yeah,
get to create that now. And that's what you're doing, right? You get to take all of those traumatic experiences and say, like, yeah, we're not inviting those in. We're going to
right.
do this our way. And it's one of the biggest gifts that entrepreneurship has given me that I was not expecting.
Exact. No, I would completely agree. I was talking the other day to my grandma at breakfast and mentioning, I've hired these women and we're doing this. And she's just like, how cool that you're able to give that gift of like, yeah,
Mhm.
functional team, supportive environment to people that we just thought it was so the norm that, you go to work every day and your boss is kind of whatever and it just is what it is. And then you retire and then there you go. And it's like, it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be that way. And I love that there's another option.
100%. And for your grandma to realize, like, I just like now see
Yes.
the generations, how different life was for your grandma and what she's seeing you do. And the fact that you even get to have breakfast with her on a random Tuesday morning, right? Like, all of these things are so against norms. So I
Mhm.
just want to take a second and recognize that you just broke like 20 societal norms in one breakfast with your grandma. What is your proudest accomplishment on this grant writing journey?
Um, I feel like I'm building something that I can pass down to my kids. They're young, they're 8, 4, and 2. So obviously there's a bit of time before they will be entering the workforce. But it's really cool that, if one of them's homesick or something's always
Mhm.
happening,
Yeah,
they're
for sure.
home and they're like, oh, mommy, mommy's working. And they're starting to ask more questions like, well, what do you do? And, because I'm in front of a computer a lot, like, it could be anything. And I'm like, well, I write and I work with some amazing, groups that are trying to help people and save the world and this and that. And they're like, mommy's a superhero. And I'm like, okay, I'm not crying. You're crying.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
it's like, I love that I can have just a little piece of, getting those nonprofits to a point where they get the funding that they need to literally change the world. And it's just like, I'm a behind the scenes kind of gal. Like, I do not need that glory by any means, but just knowing in my heart that I had something to do with that. And now look, they can expand their programming or serve more kids in foster care or whatever it is. It's like, it's just, I go to bed every night just like smiling, and I wake up the next morning like, let's do it again. Like, it's just, yeah, it's really, really fun. I found my place in the world, and I love that.
And you can just tell, and that security will radiate in unknown ways to not only your children, but to all of the people that you surround yourself with, including your clients.
I love it. Yeah.
Oh, so cool. Okay. So much of entrepreneurship is mindset. Sometimes we
Mhm.
just have to get out of our own way. And we talked a little bit about that in you're recognizing that you can't do it all and that you can delegate. You literally started a side hustle in July of 2020. Like, this
Mhm.
is a stressful time for all of our society, and you take a really big risk, right? What are the mindset barriers that you are either working through or have worked through to really evolve into this person that you are today?
That's a really good question. I feel like that's another kind of my work in progress, things that I'm working through. I feel like it ebbs and flows, because sometimes, you've submitted 5 billion grants, it seems, and you get some amazing news, a string of amazing news, and you're on a high and you're just operating at such a high frequency. And then you get other ones that are declined, and that seems to come in funky waves as well. And that's hard to not kind of like be on a shame spiral and like, oh, I could have written that differently, or oh, I could have. And 99% of the time, it has nothing to do with that. It's, there was too many applicants, to not enough money to go around, all the things.
Yeah.
So I really have to step back often and just go for a walk and get away from my computer, just get away from the noise and be like, you know what? No, like, I'm confident we put our best foot forward. We did everything we possibly could. We're going to go then talk to the funder and figure out, what could we have done differently? What would you have liked to have seen? But
100%.
yeah, it's something I try so hard not to take it personally, but I am so involved and invested with my clients. And it probably hurts my heart more when we get a declination than their own. They're like, oh, well, there's more out there. And I'm like, yeah, there is. But no, that mindset thing is definitely something that I am still working on.
Yeah.
But it's certainly
Do you
better
have
than
favorite
what it was.
Yeah. Do you have favorite tools that you use? So you talked about going for a walk outside. Like, are there other tools that you use to get out of the spirals, whatever those mindset spirals might be?
Honestly, I go onto Circle with our
Mm.
in the collective, because I get pinged all the time on my phone. I'm like, ooh, that sounds interesting. I'll look at that later. Oh, that sounds interesting. And people just posting their wins on there and some of the other things that they're, potentially struggling with. And I'm like, oh, I know the answer to that. Let me help. So I feel like just having that community and knowing that I'm not the only one that is struggling with this, and able to really cheer on others, and then just seeing, the change that they're able to make in their clients' lives, and how they're able to impart that really lifts me up again. And to know, okay, no,
Yeah.
I got this. And I'm not alone in this journey. So that really has been helpful. And that's something that I never would have thought going into the collective that would have been so impactful for me, is just to get to hear the ins and outs of what everyone else is excited about and struggling with, and all the things. So that's been really, really helpful to kind of, when I'm in a zone that I don't really want to be in, like, let's go on there and see what other folks are up to, and just be like, okay, we got
We
this.
we got this together. Oh, I really love that. And I think it speaks to the power of vulnerability. And obviously, we talk about wins a lot and we celebrate a lot of wins. It's a really big part of our culture. But I think another unspoken part of that is the gratitude that comes with the hard lessons one, right? Sometimes the wins that people post are these incredibly vulnerable low spots that have resulted in a period of growth. They're
Mhm.
recognizing that period of growth as the win. And so I think you've just really hit the nail on the head. What I also go to the community group when I'm in a spiral, because it is so life-giving to be
Yes.
with people who are raw and real with the losses and the wins along
Mhm.
this journey, whether it's mindset, whether it's the actual grant that was lost or won, or whether it's a client, right? Like all of the different pieces that people bring. It's truly quite uplifting.
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree.
Oh, so cool. Okay. So I'm going to do rapid fire questions. So one word-ish answers. What is one word to describe your dream lifestyle?
Balance.
Mhm. Next vacation spot.
My husband and I, we have a few little trips here and there, but we are taking a week, just he and I, to go to Tulum, Mexico in December. That's probably the one we're most excited about.
Oh my gosh.
I can't wait.
How long, this is not a one word answer, but how long has it been since you and your husband took a trip, just the two of you?
We, thankfully, my parents live 6 minutes away. They're both retired. My girls are their lives. That is extremely beneficial. Like if
Hmm.
we didn't have them, the answer would be like probably decades. But we did take a fun little trip to Chicago, just a couple. I guess that was just
Nice.
last month. But so we've been able to get away, thankfully. But
I
this is like the
love
big
that.
one. I'm excited.
Oh, it'd be so lovely. Okay. Fiction or nonfiction?
I'm a nonfiction girl.
What are you reading right now?
I'm still finishing the Buy Back Your Time book.
Hmm.
But I read Rachel Rodder's book, and I love all that kind of like the self help business advice from folks that have like been through it, and I
Yeah.
love to learn from others in that way.
Awesome. Last TV show you binged?
It's been a long time, but I think Ozark was the one that my husband and I watched. Love it.
I'll confess that I read your mom article in the magazine that you were published in, which we can link in the description. It's so good.
Thank you.
But anyway, I was going to say it's not Coco Melon.
This is true. We watch it every morning. That's the real answer.
Exactly. And this is such an appropriate last question. What is your superpower? In the words of your babes, what is your superpower?
I know. I guess it's grant writing. I would have told you it's like making killer wine tasting itineraries because that is one of my favorite
Ooh,
things. Like you need a day planned out here in the Willamette Valley when you're wine tasting, let me know and I'll dial it in and plan it and make sure you have a
oh
really
my
fun
God.
time.
I would love that. I will 100% take you up on that. And I'm
Okay,
also bringing you with me. Okay.
awesome. I'm in.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. So last question. I would really just love a picture of your future. And I know that you've talked about maybe retiring your husband, etc.,
Mhm.
like things like that. Talk to me about what this balanced, maybe dream state looks like for you.
Yeah. I think there's so many ways that it could go, but I think just being able to have like a leisurely morning with my husband and I get to like enjoy coffee together before the chaos of the day hits. He's one of those, he'll work forever. He loves what he does. And so he'll continue to do that. And I'll have an amazing team of folks that work with me and we'll kind of figure out who's taking the lead on what projects and I'll write grants as I'm able, but then be able to have a lunch with the girls or take them to the pool or just not be so chained, to my desk and so, focused on deadlines and just to have like a really well-oiled consultancy where it's like we're ahead of the curve every single time. There's no fire drills. I don't know that that's possible, but we're dreaming,
Limited
right?
fire drills.
Yes, limited fire drills. Just fulfillment and folks on my team feel fulfilled and valued and we're just getting money into the right hands of people that are just going to do what needs to be done with it. So I don't know. I think it could go a lot of
Beautiful.
different ways, but yeah.
That's beautiful. Okay, I do have one other question. I'm taking back my word that it was the last question. I want to talk about how tripling or how not tripling, but really increasing your prices
Mm,
has helped you get to that dream state, right?
mm,
From even, I mean, I know you were struggling with pricing like February, I think was that conversation with
yeah,
Meredith or something.
yeah.
How has really looking at how you charge and how you set up the business financially
Mhm.
helped you to be able to hire and actually move projects forward and make more of an impact for your clients?
Yeah, it's that's been a struggle. It's because of my longtime existing clients. A lot of them are on the smaller side. And I have
Mhm.
such built relationships with them. But once Meredith told me to make a stuff you do list, for your clients
Mm,
that they don't really
yeah,
realize that it's always happening behind the scenes.
yeah,
So once I really started to lay out all of the things that I do each month for my clients outside of just grant writing, which there's
yeah,
so much, I started to include that in my scopes of work that I would send over, like, hey, you know, this is prices are changing,
yeah,
stay with me, don't stay with me, whatever. But these are all the things that I've taken off your list. You may not even know that I'm doing these things, but let's hash this out. And, if the new pricing is out of your reach, let me know if there's things you would like to take back so that we can
mm,
still continue to work together. We
mm,
can figure out, some creative ways. If you want me just simply honed in on certain elements of the grant
ab-
writing process, that's fine too. So it's been really a conversation. But once I've laid it out and realized in my own head, like, this is a lot of value that I'm bringing that I didn't even really realize that I was bringing because I've just been just doing it. It's just one of those things. Um, it's been easier to have those conversations. And when I have new clients come in, the pricing is just that is what it is, and I have it now listed on my website so that if folks send in my inquiry form, they know ahead of time kind of what the ballpark looks like so that they're not
yep,
like totally taken aback when I say, well, it starts at X, Y, and Z, but it's that much because you get this whole menu of services and a whole team available anytime you need. Doesn't have to always just be me, which is good. So that's been nice that I
so,
can, yeah, that I can introduce them and say, if you have a question that I can't get to right away, I've got three amazing gals that will be right there to assist you and, make sure that you feel supported. So that continues to be, um, no, it's good. I'm at a place where I can send out a scope of work and be like, that price makes sense to me. That feels good to me. I know that's going to cover my costs because running a business is expensive, and I know that we're going to be able to just continue to grow the momentum of the company with that. And it's not going to be like a month to month sort of,
yeah,
oof, are we going to make is cash flow is do we have
yeah,
enough? Like, is it going to
yeah,
work? And I don't ever want myself or my team to feel like, oh, am I going to have a job next month? It's like,
yeah.
yes, you are.
Yes, you
We're
are.
good.
Yep.
So
Mhm.
yeah, that's been it's been good. Those are conversations I would have never known even where to begin had I not joined the collective and just had your guys' support and anybody in the collective. I've reached out to multiple to say, how do you structure your contracts and what does this look like? And it's provided so much clarity. Absolutely.
Oh, that makes me so happy. Yay. Okay. Well, one of the things that I was going to suggest, if you want to get to know Elaine more, is to go to your website. Actually, I think the fact that you have it on your discovery call application right there on your website, the prices,
Mhm.
is really transparent. And so I do want to offer that as a model, especially if you're listening out here and you are an experienced grant writer and you're struggling with prices and having discovery calls with your art like ideal audience. That is one way to do it. So definitely
Mhm.
go check out Elaine's website. It's a great example. And then also, if you're in the Pacific Northwest, you should 100% follow your Instagram. Well, for grant writing, go follow Elaine's Just Look Left Instagram, but we will also put Tasting for Tots in the description because it's just the cutest thing. And
Perfect.
yeah, you can participate in Elaine's little passion project.
Awesome. I would love
Little
that.
that could be big, probably. I could see some
Never
potential in
know.
that. Yeah.
I think so.
Cool. Thank you so much for joining us. It was wonderful to talk to you.
Of course, Alex. I'll see you soon. Thank you.